Spring Boot. We have started some basics regarding why we are going, before we enter into Spring Boot, there are some annotations knowledge is required because in Spring Boot applications and microservices, all annotations only we are going to use. And that's the reason why I have started explaining about some. Today also, I'm going to tell you some more annotations which will definitely help you to understand all the applications like Spring Boot and microservices. So those annotations, what I started in the initial classes. So in a Spring Boot session, these are the course content what actually that we are going to discuss. I repeat. Now this is the course content what we are going to discuss. Why Spring Boot is the first point that we are going to discuss in the first session of the Spring Boot class. Then I will explain about what is the meaning of bootstrapping Spring Boot application and what are the requirements for bootstrapping the Spring Boot applications. What configuration settings are required, what annotations are required for bootstrapping the Spring Boot application. Next, we have Spring Core with Spring Boot. Simple applications, how you can create with Spring Boot. Then I will tell you the use of command line runner and application runner interfaces of Spring Boot. I repeat once again, just only these are the main headings. So internally, it is going to have, multiple the sub points. So here, I just want to show the major content names that what we are going to discuss as part of the Spring Boot class. Everything I'm going to cover, almost everything is covered. Just only the main headings I'm providing here. Right. Almost uh, in the first week of sessions. In the first week of sessions, we are going to see about why Spring Boot, what is this bootstrapping the Spring Boot applications, and how can you create a Spring Core application, Spring Boot, right? And how to run the Spring Boot applications from the command line uh, using Java command, using Maven command. So like that, it takes almost a week of sessions only for the first 2-3 topics. So I'm not talking about the internal points. I'm only talking about the main content, the main headings. I can tell otherwise. I'm only talking about the main content or the main heading, but not the internal points. Then I'll tell you how to externalize some application configuration with the properties file and YAML files. And then we are going to discuss about how you can create a database application that is called a JDBC application with a Spring Boot. Right. So, I mean, I have only written here only the main content, the major content name, but internally each one is going to have internally multiple subcontents. Next. Everyone. Next, we are going to start with the Spring Data JPA with Spring Boot. I approximately we are going to see a 1 week of sessions only on Spring Data JPA with Spring Boot. Here we are going to discuss about JPA, the JPA implementation that is Hibernate, right? And how you can create applications, what to write here, how you can write JPQL queries, how can you do mappings like one to many, many to one. So it will take around a 1 week of sessions only on Spring Data JPA with Spring Boot. Around 1 week of sessions, we are going to see on Spring Data JPA with Spring Boot only. right? So then the major concept next will be Spring MVC with Spring Boot. And of course, once data JPA completed, and in every application, we are going to use Spring Data JPA with Spring Boot in the next upcoming applications. For example, you take every MVC application, every REST application, we are going to use this data JPA as part of the repository layer. So let's move on. I just want to tell you, right? I just want to tell you, this is Spring MVC with the Spring Boot is just one heading I given, but actually this is actually a major topic. We'll start from why MVC, what MVC is, right? The various components involved, the use of a command object, how you can perform validations, the server-side validations with annotations. That is called a Bean Validation API, right? And how can you add I18N facility or I18N feature to your applications? Okay. So how can you use interceptors? So, this Spring MVC with the Spring Boot, of course, all our next coming applications is going to be the MVC applications only. And then we are going to see Spring Boot profiles. This MVC is a major part and it will continue. It will continue. The MVC part will continue throughout the sessions. Next, I'll talk about what does this profiles meaning. And here I'm going to talk about using properties files, using YAML files. How can you change the profile? Means like when you change application from one environment to other environment, application configuration settings are going to be changed. So how can you manage them easily in application? That I'm going to tell you as part of the Spring Boot profiles. Here, whatever I written is just only the major content. The content is not completed still. The next slide follows. Right, here just only one heading I given. For example, data JPA, but internally so many things are there. We have to discuss about the entity annotations. We have to look at paginations, sortings, right? And we also need to talk about relationships, like providing one to many, many to one, many to many, one to many. So these many, I mean, internally there are so many things here. So just only have given heading like that. Right, okay. And this is Spring MVC with Spring Boot, just only a given a heading, but there are internally so many points are there to discuss here. Data bindings, data validations, right? Using interceptors. Okay. So lot of internally so many things are there in MVC. So those are all will be covered as part of the Spring MVC with the Spring Boot. Next. Okay. Next. I will cover everything, sir. And I mean, generally, no need to ask anything about the subject. I will definitely cover everything. What you are expecting, uh, more than that, I'm going to cover. Okay, more than that, I'm going to cover. You don't worry, and we don't compromise on subject on Spring Boot and microservices, especially. We don't compromise on subject. Okay, many of the people who are teaching Spring Boot and microservices only they know basics. Okay, they have never implemented, only they know basics, and just by reading this book, that book, they used to teach. But I will not teach like that. Okay, I'll teach you very perfectly that you are going to see definitely. You are going to see definitely. Right. Next. Uh, the next will be this is security with Spring Boot. This here we are going to see about the Spring security feature to the web applications. Spring Security different and Spring Security OAuth 2 implementation different. Right. So the security is going to play a vital role. And in this OAuth 2 implementation, we have different. There are different ways to get access tokens. They are called. There are 5 ways of getting access tokens. So all those, the different ways of getting access token, everything will be covered as part of this OAuth 2. And just for explaining this OAuth 2 only, we are going to take more time. Then next we are going to start with the RESTful web services, that is called Spring REST. I'll talk about Java REST web services, then Spring REST web services, how to create them with the Spring Boot. What are the annotations required? What are the classes provided? And how this marshalling, unmarshalling takes place, which is also called a serialization and a deserialization we call here. Those things will be discussed as part of the Spring REST with the Spring Boot. And I'll tell you what is the meaning of a cross-origin resource sharing and how it is possible with the Spring Boot applications. Means a script from one website is trying to access the resources from a website running on a different domain. A script belongs to domain 1 is trying to access the resources from an application running on second domain, domain 2. And that is called cross-origin resource sharing. So I will tell you how to enable this cross-origin resource sharing in Spring REST applications. We are going to create REST endpoints and we will allow a script from another domain also can access our REST services. That is called cross-origin resource sharing. Then we talk about Spring REST documentation with Swagger. So for any REST applications or REST API, proper documentation also very important, so that the clients of the REST API can access the REST endpoints with the proper documentation. So how this documentation can be prepared with a tool called Swagger. That is the next one I'm going to cover. Right. So then next, I would like to tell you how can you connect with the NoSQL database like MongoDB. I'll give you what NoSQL database is and what difference you can find between SQL to NoSQL databases, and how you can use this MongoDB as a backend, and how you can use it in a Spring Boot application using Spring Data MongoDB. So that is the next one more thing that I'm going to cover. Then how can you just connect your one single Spring Boot application with multiple databases? Either one SQL and one NoSQL database, otherwise two SQL based databases or two NoSQL based database, doesn't matter. But how to connect a single application to work with multiple databases? Then how can we increase the performance of an application by implementing cache? So we have a Redis cache. So we are going to use Redis cache. Of course, we have other caches also like EH cache, J cache, we have Ninja. So different are there, but I'm going to use Redis. Redis is comparatively more popular one in Spring Boot applications. The cache implementation with Redis. Then we'll see application monitoring, finding the metrics of application while it's executing with Actuator. With Actuator. Next. By the actually here one more point I missed to write here, actually that is Spring Batch. I will talk about the messaging with Kafka, and messaging is nothing but streaming only. Streaming data, I will talk about what does it mean like a streaming data. Right. Already a best example, like when you order for a food in Swiggy or Zomato, So you are getting continuously the data, like whether the guy has entered the hotel or not and picked up the order, the items or not, and where he is now, and within how many minutes he is going to come to your residence, and all those things. That is called streaming data, the continuously generating data, like flights data. Right, okay. I said already I'm just going to explain, you just see what content I'm going to teach. Everything I'm going to cover. What There are so many things that you don't know, I'm going to cover. There is next one that is called, actually here I forgot to write, that is called Spring Batch. So these are all we are going to discuss as part of the Spring Boot. Then next we are going to enter, once these are all got completed, then we enter into microservices. Right, once these are all completed, next we enter into microservices. And in the microservices, first we'll discuss about, for the initial 2-3 classes, we'll discuss about what monolithic applications are, what microservices, how do we compare them, what are the pros and cons of the monolithic applications and microservices. And microservices and SOA, service-oriented architecture. We are comparing them. Like this, uh, we are just going to discuss uh, and microservices patterns in the first 3-4 classes. I'm going to cover all these things. What patterns we follow while creating microservices, those things I will cover. And then actually, before we enter into introduction to cloud here, I'm going to talk about what application that we are going to discuss as part of the microservices class, and we first create those services here. So here only, actually what happens, the project starts. I will tell you in microservices what happens. We take up a project. We take up a project, we divide them into individual microservices, and we used to either we can use a common shared database, otherwise a separate database we use for each microservice. Around a 5 or 6 microservices we create, nothing but we are going to create a 5 or 6 Spring Boot applications. So almost for the first 3 topics, along with the required application, and making them to work, like for example 5 microservice, first I'll tell you the entire domain knowledge of our project. The same project will continue till the end of the microservices. The same project will continue till the end of the microservices. Right. So first I will tell you the domain knowledge of what project we are going to discuss as part of the microservices. Then I will tell you what are the REST endpoints required. And for each service, what endpoint should be created in the integration layer, that is the REST controller layer. And next in the service layer, what operations required, in the repository, what functionalities are required, and in the database, what tables and what data is required. Like that, around microservices. And out of them, for example, if I explain you 2 or 3, or if I explain it 2 or 3, and if we write them in class, the next what you are going to do is remaining 3 you are going to write, like that. So first, around more than a week of sessions, we will discuss for the first 3 topics only, along with the application. The same application will continue throughout the class, throughout the microservices. Right. So we don't compromise on subject. I'll try to provide you the maximum of the subject what I know, and suppose if any new thing and if I don't know, then I will definitely go through that. I'll do R&D on that, and I will make sure that it is more understandable for you. Then I will tell you introduction to cloud. Introduction to cloud, in the sense I will try to first explain about this what is platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. software as a service. Like that, we have cloud related terms like IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, like that. Then I will talk about a centralized configuration with a Spring Cloud config. Means what? Suppose if I'm creating around a 5 or 6 microservices, these microservices may have some common application properties. So those common application properties that microservices are going to read from the centralized location by creating a cloud config server. And that cloud config server is going to load all these common properties from some external repository, like a Git repository, like from a Git repository. So these are all what, right? These are all what I'm going to cover. Okay. So next we are going to see load balancing with ribbon. Load balancing with ribbon. We can also do load balancing with Consul. So I will explain both of them, ribbon and Consul. We give more priority for ribbon. This ribbon and more other components we use in microservices are called Spring Cloud Netflix components. I'll tell you what is Spring Cloud Netflix components. In the concept of introduction to cloud, I'll also talk about what is the meaning of cloud enabled applications and cloud native applications. And in the process of making our microservices cloud native microservices, then I will tell you the importance of the Netflix components. These are all Netflix components only. Load balancing with ribbon. This is called a client-side load balancing component called ribbon. I'll tell you what server-side load balancing, what client-side load balancing, and why we prefer client-side load balancing in microservices. Next, we are going to see service discovery. It's a service registry also we call with Eureka, where all the microservices are got registered, and the other microservices can find the host and port of the other microservices. One microservice can find the host and port of others with the service discovery pattern that is called Eureka, like a Truecaller. Once you have installed Truecaller and your mobile number and along with your first name, last name, and some other details, if you register, then some others can find your details when you make a call to them. And if you are installed a Truecaller, you will also find others' details when they are calling you. That's what Truecaller, right? So the same concept in microservices. That is called Eureka. Next, we are going to see resilience with Hystrix component, which means we are adding some capabilities to our microservices applications to recover quickly from the failures. So adding the capabilities to recover quickly from the failures is called resilience. That's a word, resilience, meaning adding capabilities to application to recover quickly from failures or abnormalities. Otherwise, we can say errors. Difficulties, better word. To recover quickly from difficulties. That's called resilience. Resilience with a Hystrix. Okay. So then we'll discuss about how between microservices we can provide asynchronous communication. By default, we have a synchronous communication. One microservice can make a call to other microservice. The microservices are going to interact with each other through REST API, REST endpoints only. And that REST introduction about entire REST topic will be covered in Spring Boot. And that Spring Boot knowledge is required while creating these microservices. That is what asynchronous communication with Hystrix. Then how we can provide a gateway server between the front end UI applications and the back end microservices through Zool. We call Zool as a gateway server, which will route the requests coming from the front end applications to back end microservices. Then how we can, make a call from one microservice, other microservice by creating FEN clients. I will tell you at that time the difference between using a REST template and creating FEN clients. Then I'll talk about how can you provide security for your microservices. Again, here we are going to repeat the concept of OAuth 2, securing the microservices. Then we are going to see tracing with Sleuth and Zipkin. So in this part of tracing with the Sleuth and Zipkin, see, a request can go through some hundreds of microservices. Like in Uber, that we don't know, but internally, that every request when you make in Uber is going through so many microservices. Uber application is consisting around more than 3,000 microservices. Right. Facebook also, it's at the front end for the end user, it's looking like a just sending a request and getting the response. But a request of the end user will go through some hundreds of microservices in Facebook and some hundreds of microservices in Uber, in Netflix, because they are all adapted these microservices. And of course, Netflix is the first application which has adapted and used this microservices concept. So in that, tracing important. I means when a request made, then where the request is, what are the services got executed, how much time spent on each microservice. So that is called a tracing. So tracing each request, I will tell you how it is possible with Sleuth component and a Zipkin server. Zipkin server will provide a dashboard, UI dashboard, and through that dashboard, we can able to find that how much time is taken to execute a request and what are the services executed, and at which endpoint of a service, how much time is taken. So all these things we can get in the form of a UI dashboard, and that is called tracing with Sleuth and Zipkin. That is what tracing with Sleuth and Zipkin. And then I'll tell you what Dockers are. Dockers and Docker containers, the importance of Docker, and how Docker images can be created, and how the Docker images can be shipped or deployed. I'll give you something about Docker. And I will give you some handful knowledge on Docker. But apart from that, there is some more new things to learn in Docker, but these basics will definitely help you to learn the remaining Docker concept by you. Then we are going to deploy our same microservice application will continue to add all these gateway, Hystrix, Feign, Zipkin, Sleuth, Ribbon, Eureka, everything is on the single application only. The one application will continue like that till the end of the microservice session. And exactly the same application we will deploy on AWS, by creating a free account, and by creating 3, 4 virtual servers. They are also called virtual instances. They are called EC2 instances, we call Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2. By creating 3, 4 EC2 instances, and by configuring an RDS service with Oracle or MySQL, whatever it is, so then we will dump our local tables to the cloud RDS server. Then We are just going to deploy these microservices onto the AWS cloud, and we will try to access them from our front-end applications. We'll access them from the front-end applications. That's called deployment of microservice on AWS. Even the same application we can also deploy on Azure. It's a time being. Suppose if the time permits, then I will also show you on Azure. So I can tell you both. I know both of them. Like how can you deploy the microservices on AWS and also on Azure. So AWS will definitely tell you, comparatively more popular one, and Azure it depends. It depends on the type. So these are all the course content what we are going to discuss as part of the microservices, right? Okay. Especially in microservices, we don't. I mean, we are going to see a lot of things, yeah, and it's more interesting and fabulous concept, right? These are all the course content what I'm going to cover as part of the Spring Boot and microservices. So you have seen the course content, and now in the chat box, uh, if anything that you are expecting more than this, then you can just you can write it in the chat box so that I will try to add it. The answer for the question, how will be practice labs, means through your laptop. System is mandatory. You can practice with your own system. JMS is outdated, so I'm not going to include that. If you want, I just provide you. Yeah, yeah, right, good, nice. But I'll tell you one by one answer. JMS, we have Kafka rather than JMS. JMS is only Java to Java application communication. But today microservices means one service can be developed in one technology and other service can be, it's heterogeneous technologies can be used. So that's the reason why we got Kafka, right? Okay. So JMS is not necessary. Like JMS has ActiveMQ implementation, RabbitMQ implementation. So I know all those things, but not required, because today all application. That's the reason why I'm going to teach Kafka in place of them. Kubernetes is actually a separate batch, sir. Docker's Kubernetes is completely entirely different. That's going to be Dockers and Kubernetes is entirely separate. Orchestrating the Docker image with Kubernetes is separate batch. So that's not covered here. Basics of CI/CD integration is a part of the tools class. In a tools session, okay, so we will use Jenkins for CI/CD integration. We are going to use boot version, current version only, sir. Current version of Spring Boot. Current version of Spring Boot, whatever is there, that we are going to use. JUnit, JMeter. See, JUnit is a tool, JMeter is a tool. Tools is a separate batch, sir. Tools we don't cover as part of this course. For teaching this only, it will take around more than 60 sessions. Around 2 months it takes. So already in the chat box we have given. In the chat box today, we have given a number. You just contact. You can just make a call to that uh, to get the fee details. We have given already in the chat box a number regarding this course fees particulars. You can just make a call to that number and you will get the information from our coordinator. From our coordinator. I'm going to discuss. I'm going to discuss next more. We'll continue with the. Right, sir. Okay, we have already given in the chart one message, sir. You can see today's chart if you see. You got from R&D Reddy IT School, that is our institution. Spring Boot and microservices fee particulars. Contact regarding fee 9866 177 164. 9866 177 164. That is the contact number. And uh, you just make a contact, just make a call to that number today and try to find the fee particulars. That's our coordinator number. And then I'm going to tell you now next the continuation of auto wiring. These are the course content because yesterday multiple of you people have asked about what course content is, and that's the reason why just I opened and I just explained about what course content I'm going to teach you. Right, and this uh, session, free session ends on Saturday, and that paid session will begin from March 1st. Okay, today's 25, yeah, from Monday. So that paid session begins. So within this time only you have to pay, so that you will get a link to join to the sessions, the paid batch next from Monday onwards. So for the fee particulars, just contact the number. That is our coordinator number 9866 177 164. I repeat the number 9866 177 164. Right? Right. That's it. So let's continue with the now the topic what I'm going to tell you now. Okay. Right now this is only mm, right now this is only online batch. I repeat, this will continue as a online. This is going to continue like online. There is no fast track batch, sir. There is no like fast track or a normal track. For this boot and microservices, there is only one track. Right. No, no, daily notes. I mean, I'm not going to give you dictation of the notes, but I will share the document. Okay. I will share the document for every 3-4 days, a document which contains the topics which we have discussed in that 3-4 days. For every 3-4 days, I will share one small document for each 2-3 topics. I'll share one document. So I'm not going to uh, allow you to write or something because it takes more time now. So around you can expect for every 2-3 topics, one document will be provided to you. One small document on for every 2-3 topics. That will help you. Right? Okay. Right, sir. So let's continue. So everybody start doing your payment by making a call to that number from today. Just make a call to that number today and start doing your payment today. Today, tomorrow, if you complete, so that we will try to add you to the new link, and we have our process so that you can able to attend from Monday onwards for that paid batch. Okay. Applications and everything will be shared. Applications are going to be shared. I will share through either Google Groups, or this time I'm going to share you through Drive. So I will give an access to Drive from where you can download. Applications also, class applications also will be shared in the form of zip files or RAR files, whatever it is. Okay. Right. Good. Nice. We'll start now. Yeah, we will also provide you the class recording. Paid batch recordings will be provided. For paid batch, recordings are also provided. That recording you cannot download, but you can able to listen to that for any number of times within a period of 3 months. Okay. We will provide the recording which you can directly listen. You cannot download it, but you can listen. And it will be valid for 3 months. And within the 3 months of time, any number of times if you want, you can listen, no problem. Okay. Every class will be recorded, and all the recorded sessions are available, and we'll give access to them. You can also listen to them for any number of times in a period of 3 months. Right? Let's start with the session now. See, yesterday, okay, these are the course content what you're asked about, and that all those things will be covered. Right. So what content I'm going to teach, and actually what we are collecting as a fee from you is very less, and that too, this is very demanding course, right? Means there are plenty of opportunities are there, right? If you keep resume within a 2 3 days, you are getting a more than 10 MNC calls. Within 2 3 days, you are getting 10 to 10 at least a minimum of 10 MNC calls. So that there is a huge demand for the Spring Boot and microservices. So you can grab now. This is the best time that if you want to switch company. Otherwise, if you want to enter uh, by keeping even some experience, also like a 3+ experience or 4+ experience, this is the better time. By learning this course, now you can able to easily enter, and you can prove what you are in the industry. Right. So coming to the sessions now. See, let's move on. Let's move on. We'll start with that. Uh, Yesterday, okay, right. Yesterday, we have discussed about annotations like @AutoWide. Then we have discussed about @qualifier. Right. So @qualifier annotation can be used. Right. @qualifier annotation can be used to resolve ambiguity. AutoWord annotation can be used for injecting object dependencies. Value annotation can be used for injecting value dependencies. AutoWord annotation can be used for injecting. This is for injecting injects value dependencies. Next, what @AutoWord injects what? It injects both object and collection dependencies. Okay, right? It injects what? Both. Are you getting my point? Injects value dependencies. Next one is injects object and collection dependencies. That everyone. In while injecting object dependencies or collection dependencies, there is a chance of getting an ambiguity, and that ambiguity can be resolved through qualifier annotation. That's what I said. Qualifier annotation can be used to provide the bean name or bean ID to resolve ambiguity. Because in auto wiring, what happens if more than one matching bean is found, then the Spring container gets an ambiguity and it will raise an exception. So to resolve that, we have qualifier annotation. Right. And coming to today's point, of course, when we are creating our Spring Boot applications like Spring Core applications, Spring MVC applications, that I am going to show you that when we are getting some ambiguity, how the ambiguity can be resolved through this qualifier annotation, and also with another annotation called what? @primary annotation. Those both of them will be discussed @primary annotation and @qualifier annotation at that time. At that time. Next. Okay. You don't worry, sir. Okay, I will definitely explain. All right. I'll definitely explain, don't worry. At the time when we are discussing about applications, then I'm going to show you the difference between at qualifier and at primary. Now today I would like to talk about writing configuration class. For the time being, I have to cover all the basics within these sessions. So now I would like to talk about a point like what is configuration class. See, you know, you can define a Spring application configuration in an XML file. Uh, Suppose no, if you do not want to write configuration XML file, then you can create a Java configuration class. Java configuration class. So you can define, I repeat, an application configuration can be done in an XML file. But nowadays we are not writing the configuration in XML file. Already the Spring container is going to read all the bean definitions from that XML file. Say for example, if you created, example I'm telling you, if you created an XML file like say config.xml file you have created, and in this XML file you defined all the beans definition, you defined all the beans what you created in application, and various tags are provided, whether the dependency should be injected through constructor or should be injected through setter method. For that, we have different various tags with attributes are provided, like a constructor hyphen arg and all, like property tag with id attribute. I mean, with the name attributes, with the ref attributes, like that. So today, the XML configurations you are not going to look. You are not going to find anywhere. And of course, in Spring Boot, XML configurations are not at all allowed. So now I would like to tell everyone. Now come to the point. In applications, the application context container is there. Application context container is an advanced container, so we don't use any bean factory container in applications. Application context container, is an advanced container than bean factory. Okay, application context is the advanced container than bean factory. So I would like to uh, see how we are going to initialize that application context is, say for example, application context, we write like this. Okay, application context. Something like context is equal to, or what CTX is equal to, there is an implementation class of application context is class path XML application context. I think you know this class. Class path XML application context. Of you are providing something like config.xml, like this you are writing. Okay, right. Something like that you are writing. But what is the alternate now? Generally, we are not writing the configuration through these XML files today. We are creating a Java configuration class. So we are going to write all the bean definitions in the configuration class. Most of the bean configurations are automatically configured, means automatically registered in the Spring container through component scan feature. So I'll talk about that. Component scan feature. Component scan, auto wiring, stereotype annotations, configuration. These are all basics. You have to know them. You have to know them. Okay, these are all the basics what you have to learn. That's what I'm covering here, so that you are not going to face any issues when I'm talking about the applications with the Spring Boot. Because in Spring Boot, all the configurations are done through, annotations only are allowed. XML is not allowed in Spring Boot applications. We can't write XML configurations in Spring Boot applications. So, right, I would like to discuss here a configuration class you can write using annotation called at configuration. I used to say at configuration is annotation. It's a class level stereotype annotation. Next, I repeat. Everybody, observe. Uh, Say, for example, I have written something like public class. My class name is something like app config. Of course, here we are going to write all the bean definitions. I will tell you there is an annotation called at bean. This is also one more important annotation that we are going to use. We are going to add this annotation at method level. By specifying this annotation at method level, we are just making that method as a bean method. A bean method is to write a bean definition. Right. And an object returned by that method will be registered in Spring container as a Spring bean. I'll explain about this. Okay, don't worry, because these are all the basics to discuss. Okay. So, so what is the alternate now? Instead of XML, that we are writing configuration class in Spring applications. So configuration class is created by adding or by specifying this annotation at the class level. It is a stereotype annotation. It indicates that this is a configuration class in the project. And of course, one Spring application can have n number of configuration classes. So, I mean, you no need of defining all application configuration in a single class. You can also create a multiple configuration classes, and you can define the application configuration. The annotation name is at configuration. The annotation name is at configuration. Right. So, this configuration class can be loaded. I mean, the Spring application context, that's called IOC container in Spring, and this container can be initialized to initialize application context by loading the configuration from Java configuration class. There is an implementation class provided for application context called what? Annotation config application context. To initialize application context, that's a Spring container, by loading the configurations from Java configuration classes, use annotation config application context. So remember these two classes names. This will help you even in interviews also. Means I'm covering in both ways. One is part of the interview and the other one is part of the subject, both. So I repeat, I write like this: what application context? Context is equal to what? New annotation config application context. Of, say for example, that configuration class name is app config dot class. Something like that we write. Clear? So annotation application context is an advanced container. Bean factory is a basic container. Application context interface is extended from, otherwise derived from Bean factory only. And the two implementation classes we use to initialize application context, one is class path XML application context, next one is annotation config application context. So, but nowadays we are not defining the application, a Spring application configuration in an XML file. We are creating Java configuration classes, and a configuration class can be created by adding this annotation at the class level. And this configuration class can be used to write up, use it to configure the Spring Beans in application. We are going to configure the Spring Beans in application. Of course, for that we are going to create bean methods. I will tell you how to do that with annotation called @bean. So if there is an XML file created, then application context is initialized by creating class path XML application context object. But if configuration class is created, then application context can be initialized by creating annotation config application context. In all Spring Boot applications, application context is initialized by creating annotation config application context object. Because in Spring Boot applications, XML configurations are not allowed. The configurations can be done by creating Java configuration classes, but not with XML. That is the point that you have to understand. Okay, I think you are getting the concept clearly, I think. So now in Spring, actually there is a very good feature. In Spring, actually there is a very good feature that is called components auto scanning feature, which means Spring only will enter into a package name what you provided, will enter into that package, will scan for the Spring components, including that package and its sub packages also. And it will register those components in the Spring container. If they are registered in Spring container, then only the Spring container will will manage its life cycle, like object creation, initialization, managing the dependencies, and then finally destroying that object. So first of all, a bean must be registered in Spring container, then only the container can manage its life cycle, its object life cycle. Like, I think I just want to tell you, when you create any servlet class, of course, whether you may or may not have, because nowadays, people can directly enter from core Java to Spring. Core Java is mandatory. Without core Java, directly you can't enter into Spring. But once you complete your core Java, no need of learning advanced Java and nothing. No need of wasting your time by learning JDBC technology for 2 months, servlet technology for another 2 months, JSP technology for one more month, and no need of wasting your 5 months of time. Okay, now you have to learn JDBC in 2 days, servlet technology in 2 days, and JSP technology a maximum in 2 days. Within a week of sessions, you have to complete all these things. No need to go into type 1 driver, type 2 driver. Okay, nothing. There is a driver that acts as a mediator for connecting your application, your front-end Java application with a backend database. That's all. Okay, and just Oracle driver, MySQL driver. There is a URL of the driver, and those things, those values you have to remember. That's all. So in that way, you have to learn today. No need of learning for these many. No need of learning for these many. So now next, I would like to tell you. Now the people nowadays are entering from core Java directly. You can enter into Spring. In the middle, just you can learn for them in a week. After getting those 1 week of knowledge on them, then you can directly enter into Spring, no problem. Spring framework. And within Spring framework only, you can also learn this ORM tool. You can learn what is ORM and how the ORM tools works, like Hibernate. Within Spring also you can learn them. Spring ORM layer is there, na Spring ORM module. In that ORM module, you can learn ORM also. Okay. So from there, you are entering into Spring framework. Okay. And then next, now you are going to enter into our boot and microservices. And this Spring Boot and microservices will provide you ample of opportunities. Right. So uh, I would like to tell you. I like to tell you uh, in servlet, a servlet class you are writing by extending HTTP servlet or generic servlet, something like. Mostly we extend HTTP servlet class. So you are creating a servlet class, but there is a servlet container in the server. A server has a container. Suppose it's a server in which we have a container, and say this container is actually going to manage the servlet class. Nothing but it's going to manage its life cycle. So for that, what we have to do is we have to register this servlet class with this container in server. You have to register. Every servlet class can be registered with a name. That is called a servlet name. So for that, what you are doing in the web.xml file, you are going to use some tags to, configure the servlet class. Like using servlet is one tag you have, servlet hyphen mapping is one more tag you have, like that. Using servlet class and servlet hyphen mapping, these are the tags that we are using in the file. Means the thing is, what if a servlet class is registered with the container, servlet container, then only this container can manage its object lifecycle. Similarly, in Spring, you are creating multiple Spring beans. Spring beans are nothing but, I repeat, Spring bean is nothing but what? It is just a class as part of your application, and its life cycle is managed by Spring container. The classes in a Spring application, which are managed by Spring IOC container, are called Spring beans. I repeat my statement. The classes in a Spring application, which are managed by Spring IOC container, are called Spring beans. That's all. So there is a Spring container, Spring IOC container. So the beans has to be registered with the Spring IOC container. And who is that Spring IOC container? That is our application context container. That is application context. So how to register? By writing bean definitions in the XML file. In the XML file, there is a bean tag provided. Like this, you are going to write multiple bean tags. Okay, bean tag, bean tag. Use bean tag to define the configuration of a Spring bean to register this bean with the IOC container. But nowadays, what happens? Spring has given an excellent feature. What is the feature? Components auto scanning feature. What does it mean? In this components auto scanning, Spring only will scan. Spring only will scan a package provided to identify the Spring components and will register them in IOC container. And there is an annotation provided for enabling this auto scanning feature, and that is called @component scan. This is an annotation which enables this feature, components auto scanning feature. So this, everyone, I repeat, this everyone is an important annotation, and this annotation we add at configuration class level. Means while writing Spring applications, we write at configuration, at component scan, of course we provide some an element called base packages. You can provide some package name here. For example, I'm providing com.rnit. If I provide a package name like this, com.rnit, then the Spring will enter into this com.rnit package, and also will scan enter into its sub packages. Like for example, com.rnit.controller, rnit.service, or .repository, whatever the package I have, it will scan all those packages, the sub package of this base package, will identify the components, or how it will identify using stereotype annotation, right? At component annotation, at component it declares that a class is a Spring Bean component. Of course, we are not directly writing at component, but we are writing its derived annotations, like at service, or at controller, or at repository, like that we are writing now. So the Spring will automatically Spring will identify the Bean components and will register them in the application context. This is called a components auto scanning feature. It's a very excellent feature that we have in Spring framework. Okay. So the annotation which we use to enable this auto scanning feature in Spring applications is at component scan, and this annotation we add at the configuration class level. We are going to add it at the configuration class level. Of course, I'll tell you more on this. For the time being, I'm stopping here, but I'll talk about this components auto scanning once again with the component scan annotation next. Next, tomorrow I'll also talk about this, what you are expecting, like at primary annotation and at bean annotation. These are all the basics I'm going to cover. These are all the basics what I'm going to cover with at primary annotation and at bean annotation in the session next. Okay. And for the time being, here I'm going to stop, and we'll continue in the tomorrow session. The sessions will start from 6:30 onwards. We have already provided the number in the chat box. You just make a call to that number. Make a call to that number regarding the fee details. Okay. So tomorrow at 6:30, I'll start the session. If you have any doubt, now you can ask me.